story, the Medical and Dental Council says it will, from January 2018, give all doctors, special practitioners a stamp with security features. The council says it will also enforce the wearing of name tags by all practitioners as a way of weeding out imposters. The registrar of the council, Dr. Eli Kwesi Atikpi, was speaking at a media interaction with some selected journalists in Accra.
From January next year, all doctors, all physician assistants, all certified registered anesthetists that will attend to patients would hold a practitioner stamp. And that practitioner stamp would have specific features. And one of the important features that the practitioner stamp is going to have is the practitioner's number. This file has a practitioner's name, and there is a unique number. So any practitioner that has registered with the Medical and Dental Council has a unique number. And Council is saying that from January next year, all practitioners working in Ghana, in any health institution registered by the Medical and Dental Council should carry a practitioner stamp. So when you go to your institution and then you are given a prescription, the first thing that you should look out for should be the practitioner's stamp, where you have the practitioner's name and the unique number. There are other features which I wouldn't want to talk about now because they are security features. When the stamp is come out and it is ready for use, we'll definitely communicate same to you, to the Ghanaian public. The other thing is that we are also trying to ensure that any institution that has practitioners working in, practitioners should go there with name tags. So when you enter an institution and a practitioner doesn't really have a name tag, look at that practitioner with a third eye if you have. Or you can even make a call to the Medical and Dental Council to indicate that, look, I went to institution A, I was seen by this practitioner, and then the practitioner was not wearing a name tag.
Meanwhile, the council says it has since January 2016 arrested 19 quack doctors who were operating without licenses. 5 of the 19 cases have been determined with the culprits in jail.
From January last year, we have 19 cases that have been apprehended. And this had come out as a result of the random visits to some of these institutions. And basically, apart from a few cases that we have had outside Accra or Greater Accra, the exercise really started in the Greater Accra region. And then we had a few cases that people really had reported to us. And how do we really get information? An individual applies seeking for a job in an institution. And because the employer is also liable in the event that, a fake person is found on his or her premises, they will call or send information to us to verify as to whether or not that individual is registered by the Medical and Dental Council.
Well, Dr. Atipi has also been speaking about one of such arrests involving one Fortune Kamasa who was apprehended about 4 weeks ago for practicing without registration. Mr. Kamasa was earlier arrested in 2013 and convicted for the same offense, but was able to pay the fine. He came back and changed the name of the facility from St. Joseph's Hospital to Family Community Hospital and continued practicing.
He was arrested for practicing medicine without registration. Interestingly, he was earlier arrested in 2013, arraigned before court, and he had a minimal fine. But again, he paid the fine, and he went back, changed the name of the hospital from St. Joseph's Hospital to Family Community Hospital, and continued to practice. Unfortunately for him, he was arrested on the 26th of September this year. And he was arraigned before the Hokwe Circuit Court on 2 counts.
Let's still stay on health because lawyers for Ghana Diabetes Association president have mounted a strong defense of their client, Elizabeth Denyo, saying she did no wrong following a JoyNews investigation that revealed alleged diversion of free diabetes drugs meant for children. The investigations by JoyNews' Kwete Nate revealed that Elizabeth Denyo undersupplied free diabetes drugs meant for the children. The report also shows how some officials selected by the Diabetes Association to distribute free insulin and glucometers rather sold the drugs. Here excerpts.
There is an intervention to ensure that no child dies from diabetes. That's the partnership between an Australian donor agency, International Diabetes Federation, and the National Diabetes Association of Ghana under the Life for a Child program. A memorandum of understanding signed between the two bodies states that children living with diabetes are to be supplied with insulin, glucometers and strips free of charge. Elizabeth Denyo is the president of the association.
We're looking at people living with diabetes nationwide, but our special attention is on children living with diabetes. The Life for a Child Foundation is a branch of the International Diabetes Foundation. Their mission is no child should die of diabetes. So currently throughout the African sub-region, we are making sure every child living with diabetes at least gets strips and to test their sugar, glucometers to test their sugar, and insulin to keep them alive.
But there is a ripoff of these vulnerable patients living with diabetes. JoyNews checks reveal some officials appointed by the National Diabetes Association of Ghana are selling the strips and glucometers instead of distributing them for free to the poor patients.
Well, at a news conference Monday, Madam Denyo's lawyer, Alex Aben, admitted the figure sent to the donors in Australia was higher than the actual number of beneficiaries on the Children's and Diabetes program, but argues that they took that decision for a good reason.
As regards the substantive allegation itself, we state on behalf of our client that the report is mischievous. We would like then to take the opportunity to educate the public on our client's operations or the operations of the association. The association makes a bulk request to the international body for the supply of these medical items. In sending the request, it is always guided by the number of children living with the disease and the level of urgency. It is always prudent to request a few more than the exact number of these supplies to deal with cases that may have been uncovered after the request or for other unforeseen eventualities. And I believe this is what is called reasonable margin of error. Upon receipt of the goods, the association distributes same in accordance with the requests made by the various hospitals. And it should be noted that the requests from the various hospitals must be based on their actual needs. In other words, the distribution is done according to actual numbers of diabetic children declared by the hospital and recorded in the books of the association as part of their records. The association does not send any amount of supplies just because the hospital has made a request for it. It must again be noted that the amount of drugs sent to the various hospitals is done at the sole discretion of the association.
Well, he didn't end there. He accused Joy FM Super Morning Show host Kojo Yankson of stealing the concept behind the popular sugar project, which seeks to raise awareness about diabetes. What?
In 2015, our client, in collaboration with the Multimedia Broadcasting Group Limited, using Joy FM as the vehicle, launched the Sugar Project. I'm sure a lot of you heard it. To highlight the plight of all persons living with diabetes, including children and adults in Ghana, and seek financial support for such persons to cater for their medication. As you may be aware, nothing much is being heard about that project anymore in recent times. This is not without reason. Our client has instructed us to allege that the program has fallen off the radar because of the selfishness of Mr. Kojo Yankson. This is the explanation for the allegation. The Sugar project was a concept designed and registered by our client as a company limited by guarantee under the laws of the Republic of Ghana, to be used as a vehicle to solicit support for persons living with diabetes. So we have the certificate of incorporation and certificate to commence business. Our client avers that prior to the launch in January 2015, she met Mr. Kojo Yankson, a diabetic himself, in London, and discussed the Sugar project idea with him. In the discussion, our client espoused all the modalities involved in rolling out the project and succeeded thereby to convince Mr. Yankson about the anticipated positive impact the campaign would have on diabetes education and treatment in the country. She then secured the assurance of Mr. Yankson to use his influence in the media to help in selling out the idea to Ghanaians and other philanthropic organizations to assist persons with diabetes in Ghana.
So you heard lawyer for the president of the Ghana Diabetes Association, Madame Elizabeth Denyo, leveling those accusations. Well, Kojo himself is here to speak to those claims. Hello, good evening to you, Kojo.
Hello,
so you heard the lawyer. He says that the idea for the Sugar project was not originally yours. So how did you come by that?
Well, isn't it interesting? In fact, he goes into quite a bit of detail, which is fortunate. He says that the Sugar project was a concept designed and registered by his client,
right,
and that his client, Madame Denyo, met me, a diabetic, in London, where we discussed the Sugar project, and I then took the idea. So the idea is that she met me in London, proposed her idea of the Sugar project, and I said, oh, I'll give you my platform, you know, to help you push your project. And then I came back to Ghana and decided to steal her idea. Well, here's the difficulty with that claim. I came back from England in January 2014. Since then, I haven't been back. My passport will show you that. So if she did meet me in England, it must have been before January 2014. But I got a job here at Multimedia in March 2014. In fact, April 2014 to be accurate. That was my first day at work here.
So you're saying that claim cannot be true?
Well, I mean,
have you
if she
ever
met
discussed the issue of the idea or the concept of the Sugar project with her?
Yes, in fact, we brought the Diabetes Association of Ghana in as a partner to deliver the Sugar project. They promised that they would give us free drugs. In fact, Madame Denyo's words were that she has warehouses full of free drugs.
Wow.
And supplies that we can use for screening exercises.
So if I understand you correctly, you brought them on as a partner after you had conceived the idea.
Yes, indeed. And it is the Joy FM Sugar project. It's not Kojo Yankson's Sugar project. So it is a Joy FM product. It wasn't created by Madame Denyo. It is not her idea. If she met me in London, it was before I got a job here as Multimedia. So how would I possibly have offered her the use of a platform I didn't yet have?
Good. So that aside, they make another allegation that you are a beneficiary of the diverted supplies. How do you respond to that?
Well, it's ridiculous, Araba. And again, I'm happy that they provided detail that we can read. She says in 2015, as you may be aware, there was an acute shortage of insulin in the country, resulting from the inferno that engulfed the central medical stores at Tema. Mr. Yankson, a diabetic, just like our client, needed his supplies of diabetic medication and had to fall heavily on our client. Okay, now here's the thing. I don't get my diabetes drugs from the central medical stores. I buy them from private pharmacists. Now she says, and this is the interesting thing that the lawyer is saying, he says, we dare ask, did he at that time not know that he was benefiting from Life for a Child supplies? Which is basically them saying that if it is true that I took drugs from them, then they were actually diverting Life for a Child supplies to me.
So it's implied that they actually diverted the drugs.
Ridiculousness. I'm surprised a lawyer would say this. But I think at this point, since she has involved lawyers, perhaps multimedia needs to take a decision about whether we want to take this matter up legally. Okay. If she has the guts for it, it would be nice to see her attempt to make these claims in front of a judge.
I'm sure that will be considered. Thank you so much. And that was my colleague, Kojo Youngson. He is host of Joy FM's Super Morning Show. You're watching Joy News Prime. I'm Arabakum. So we're taking a short break, but still ahead, minority accuses new leadership of Cocoa Board of supervising wasteful expenditure, with administrative costs ballooning from over 300 million to over 500 million cedis in less than a year. You're welcome back. Now, government has assured it is on course to deliver the 216 factories promised prior to the 2016 elections by close of 2020. One district, one factory was the industrialization mantra then candidate Akufo-Addo campaigned with, a promise to change the landscape of the Ghanaian economy from a raw material consuming one to a value-adding one. The Secretariat responsible for the policy Monday briefed the press on the progress made so far. Coordinator Gifty Kunedu told the press the work timeline remains 2020 as it has received more than 600 proposals.
Right, I can give you 51 right away or even more. But as I said earlier on, I don't want to create white elephants. Sword cutting is very easy. We can go around cutting saws, but what next? It will have to be accepted fully by a financier, just like a Kumfi. A Kumfi project is worth 7.7 million and is fully covered. Construction has started, so I have no problem talking so much, making so much noise about Kumfi. But when I haven't concluded with my financiers, it's very difficult for me to come out and say that my 51 projects are these ones. No, I don't want to raise unnecessary excitement among people. The number of investors are, yes. As for the number of investors, they are numerous. I can count about 600 or more. And I can count financiers, I can count about 8 or more financiers, including foreign ones like the CMBN. And also we have some British investors, and they keep coming in. We have even from Norway and all other countries. And also in the country, we have our own GCB Bank, we have our Ghana Exim Bank, we have Access Bank, we have Standard Chartered Bank, we have.
She was emphatic government will only give clearance for projects that are economically viable.
With our discussions with the financial institution, we are getting closer to conclude on projects that are viable and have met all the requirements necessary to assess credits. These requirements include project viability, large volume job creation, foreign earnings, savings, social impact projects, value addition, and security of supply of raw materials, and also community acceptability, among others. These projects cut across all 10 regions of the country. The projects include agro-processing such as cassava, soya beans, shea butter, fruit and vegetable processing, rice milling, livestock processing, including poultry, piggery, and aquaculture, among others. Other project sectors include manufacturing of tiles, smoke production, bamboo processing, beverage production and waste recycling, and others. To conclude, I want to repeat that it is not our aim to create white elephants, but commercially sustainable projects for the country like Donald Trump. I want to say that, trust me.
Well, still in a Greek, the minority in Parliament has accused the current leadership of the Ghana Cocoa Board of supervising wasteful expenditure, claiming administrative costs at its headquarters have skyrocketed from 363 million cedis to 538 million cedis. That, they say, is nearly 48% increase in less than a year since the MPP took over the reins of government. Well, the minority has been addressing a news conference on happenings in the cocoa sector at Bodi in the Western region, at which they have been making these allegations. Minority spokesperson on agriculture, Eric Opoku, accused the NPP government of being insensitive to the plight of cocoa farmers by abandoning the NDC's free fertilization program with subsequent or subsidized fertilizer given to the farmers at a cost of 80 cedis per bag.
On 21st June 2017, the minority in Parliament held a press conference and drew the attention of the NPP government to the fact that the Ghanaian cocoa farmer had indirectly paid for the fertilizers procured for the 2016-2017 season, and therefore selling same to them amount to broad daylight robbery. We further explained that in Ghana, cocoa farmers are paid in kind and in cash, and by replacing the free fertilization with subsidized system, the NPP will inflict untold hardships on the cocoa farmer. The NPP government demonstrated its insensitivity to the highest apogee to the plight of the ordinary Ghanaian by ignoring our wise counsel and proceeded to replace the free subsidized arrangement, under which a bag of fertilizer, which was given to the farmer free, is now sold at 80 Ghana. It's now sold at 80 Ghana cedis, in spite of the endorsement of strictly not for sale. Our gallant farmers, it is important to note that our checks from most of cocoa growing districts indicate that a sizable percentage of the granular fertilizers are still in the stores of the LBCs because cocoa farmers are unable to afford.
Mr. Opoku said under the Akufo-Addo government, Ghana Cocoa Board's expenditure has skyrocketed as a result of re-engaging the services of some retirees, while also asking some 20 members of the senior management staff to proceed on leave.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, soon after the swearing in of the president, management staff of Ghana Cocoa Board were asked to proceed on leave. While on leave, they are paid their salaries and allowances due them at the end of every month. Some retirees who have been paid pensions from Cocoa Board after their retirement have been re-engaged to fill those vacancies. This means that at the end of every month, those on leave and those re-engaged are all paid salaries from the sweat and labor of you, the farmers. This has ballooned the headquarters expenditure from 363 million in 2016 to 538 million, representing about 48% increase. Is this way of managing the resources of the cocoa farmer? The minority has raised these critical issues that go to the core of the survival of the cocoa sector and the general well-being of our cocoa farmers.
While Cocoa Board has discounted the minority's claims, Special Assistant to the Chief Executive Officer of Cocoa Board, Fifi Boafo, has described the claims as inaccurate.
It's not surprising to say that salaries alone can balloon the entire administration cost of Cocoa Board by 48%. I think that is inaccurate. To start with, it is not true that 20 retirees have been brought back to occupy positions at Ghana Cocoa Board. What it is that there are people who have been asked to proceed on leave, yes, but certain persons occupying positions which hitherto were occupied by some of the people who are on leave at the moment are people who work with Ghana Cocoa Board. These are directors, some senior managers who have worked with Ghana Cocoa Board over the years. Yes, there are some people who were prior to the coming beginning of this new administration have worked with Ghana Cocoa Board. Some have been forced out of the system, some are on retirement, who have been brought back. But these are only 3 people. They are deputy chief executives. So it is not a case that a wholesale suite of senior top management have been done and people who used to work with Ghana Cocoa Board have been brought back. So I think that is inaccurate for them to say.
You're watching JoyNews Prime. I'm Marva Kumson. Business is up next.
Hello, good evening to you. Thank you very much for joining me on Business. Now, government has indicated the likely price or interest to be paid on tomorrow's bond sale. According to persons close to the transaction, government is looking at an interest range of between 16 and about 19% when the offer opens. The deal has been structured in a way to ensure a fraction of the 6 billion cedi debt to be raised over a 7-year period, while the remainder will be done in 10 years. Some domestic investors say they are okay with the proposed price guidance. Nana Safo is chief executive of Borah Capital.
I think what they've done is that they put a very good structure in place to make sure that if you put a client's investment into it, you are more as close at getting a return and also getting it in terms of security-wise, an investment be protected almost like a government security. So my concerns have been addressed.
Are we going to see you obviously placing some funds into this whole structure that they have developed?
We've already had discussions with some of our clients, and we are very sure that we will put some money inside. You know, we are a small institution, so we haven't got a lot, but we will still make sure that we get some funds in.
Apart from the issue about the ASLA receivables not being enough to back this whole structure or arrangement, what are the issues that came up from the other colleagues as well who were present in this meeting?
I think there was a couple of very intelligent questions. One as to whether the receivables in terms will be sufficient, and one as to, in fact, there was a lady who even asked whether the other banks were going to convert some of their monies and get a bonds to it. Both cash and bonds. And I think to a large extent, the structure is very good. They've been very considerate, both governments and then the issuers and advisors have been very considerate in putting in. So on the whole, it's a very good structure.
Meanwhile, Chief Executive of Standard Chartered Bank, Mansa Neti, has been explaining to Joy Business some measures put in place to make the offer successful.
We've helped the government to structure this energy bond, and we've also assisted in the marketing in both offshore markets and the domestic markets. And for the offshore markets, let me say, these are offshore participants who normally would invest in Ghanaian bonds anyway. So these are the kind of investors that we have targeted for this particular issue.
One would say that what should we expect from Standard Chartered Bank with respect to this whole deal? I mean, you've done this, and this is your space in terms of the presence, the strength, the connections, and all the rest. So what should we be expecting from you and what you are bringing on board?
So Standard Chartered, we've been in this bank for 120 years. We've worked very closely with government as their sovereigns and solutions partner. We have very strong capabilities in the capital markets. And so aside from Ghana, we've worked in other markets across Africa where we've led, the issuing of bonds. And I'll say that this bond is first to be issued in this market. It's a corporate bond with a special purpose vehicle structure where this SPV will issue the bond, and it will be supported by flows from the ESLA levies.
Now, President of the Ghana Securities Industry Association, Reginald France, is advising stakeholders to pay attention to developments in all aspects of the financial markets. Reginald France cited recent collapse of some banks as challenges that could have negative consequences on the financial markets. He spoke with Joy Business at the launch of this year's Capital Markets Week.
According to the president of the Ghana Securities Industry Association, Reginald France, the week-long celebrations would, among other things, be used to deliberate on how to maintain investor confidence in the industry and ensure security of the industry as a whole. So the Capital Week celebrations has been officially launched under the theme ensuring the safety and security of Ghana's financial markets. Now, this particular week aims at improving Ghana's financial markets by looking at ways to mitigate challenges in this particular sector and how to improve investment in Ghana's stock exchange. Now, key among the issues that stood up was the fact that assets under management had seen some increment to about 70 billion cedis. However, the president of the GSIA, Reginald France, believes that there's still room for improvement.
Essentially, what has happened with defaulting banks and also government trying to ensure that banks are paid from the ESLA bonds on things that have occurred. These are systemic risks if people are extending credit and they are not being paid for. Defaults and NPRs in banks has a knock-off event to all aspects, because when they start writing the provisions off, the companies go under, and we begin to see that. And so I think we need to pay attention to what happens in one side of the market, whether it's on the banking side or whether it's on the listed equity side. There is a repercussion across board.
On his part, Director General for the Security and Exchange Committee, Reverend Ogbami Tete, reiterated the SEC's resolve to increase the capital requirement.
The minimum capital requirement has been very low for many years now. For a fund manager or an investment advisor, what we have currently is 100,000 Ghana cedis, and I think everybody agrees that it is really low. And if you want to have very strong institutions or operators who have the muscle to ensure that they are serving the client needs, they must have the backbone. So we are in the process. I think I gave the hint that there's going to be that upward revision. The plan is to do some engagement with the market because we believe that we want to get their buy-in, but we'll keep the overriding objective in view, which is to make sure that at the end of the day, we have very strong market operators. I want to believe that by the end of this month, would have started the engagement process with the market.
Activities for the celebrations include education for tertiary students on the capital market and the organization of debates. Sheila Tamaklo's report for Joy Business.
The delegation of Moroccan investors is in the country to explore ways of improving the expertise of local businesses. The investors have been expressing the desire to boost bilateral trade with Ghana. This was at the maiden Ghana-Morocco summit held in Accra. There's more in this report.
Ties between Ghana and Morocco currently stand at less than 1%. This is according to figures from the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It is against these troubling figures that, of course, they have met with investors from Morocco to explore the best ways by which both countries could boost bilateral trade. We shall be getting in touch with some of the investors from Morocco as well as those here in Ghana as to the best ways by which they could explore the business opportunities in both countries, especially when the call for bilateral trade continues to deepen. The conference brought together a section of the business community to their counterparts from Morocco to deliberate on some best ways to boost trade ties between both countries. Deputy Trade Minister Nkalemtse said government continues to remain focused on creating the most business-friendly environment in West Africa.
Permit me to use this opportunity to formally welcome our friends from Morocco and to wish them a fruitful deliberations during this forum. As they engage with their Ghanaian counterparts, I hope networks that add value to the warm relationship that has long existed between our two nations would further be strengthened.
Speaking to Joy Business, Chief Executive Officer of the National Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Mark Bedu Abuaji, says the Chamber is now prioritizing on ways to engage both governments of Ghana and Morocco on increasing trade ties in the country.
If you look at the trade statistics, Ghana's export to Morocco as at 2016 was just about $7 million, which represents less than 1% of our total export. And then Moroccan's export to us, that's our imports, it's also about $87 million, which is also about less than 1% of our total import. But we realize that there are a lot of opportunities that both countries can tap into. They are somehow advanced. They have a lot of product that we can also import. They also need some of the product that we have here in terms of the raw materials to add value to. So this process started early this year when a delegation of 200 businessmen and women came to Ghana under the collaboration of the Ghana Chamber of Commerce and Industry, together with the King of Morocco. And we
That's all in business tonight. Many thanks for watching. My name is Emmanuel Apuachi. We have a good evening.
Now, President Akufo-Addo has asked the Cyber Crime Unit of the Ghana Police Service to recruit more skilled personnel into the service as he questioned why the country's cybercrime fighters struggle to counter and neutralize activities of technology-savvy criminals. The president, who was speaking at the 2017 National Cybersecurity Week at the Accra International Conference Center Monday, also asked the country's cybersecurity unit to consider recent global cyber incidents in the United States and UK as a wake-up call, since Ghana is also experiencing similar but homegrown cyber criminals.
The task that we face, therefore, is urgent. The fast pace at which technology is developing means that often the law enforcement officials are struggling to keep pace with the lawbreakers. It is critical, therefore, that those in charge of protecting our ICT security are well equipped with the knowledge and the expertise to do so. The tools and competencies with which we fight crime must necessarily, therefore, change. We need to train and have a well-equipped corps of cybercrime fighters. But we should go further than that. I dare say it's time to take another look at the qualifications that we require in a policeman, for example. If what we used to define as crime has changed, then we should redefine the crime fighters.
The president therefore called on the country's cyber unit to take control of the country's cyberspace. Meanwhile, in his opening remarks, the president referenced his 17th October pidgin tweet when he called on Ghana's dancehall artist, Shatta Wale, to pay him a visit at the seat of government.
The smartphone you and I have in our hands today is far, far more powerful than the computers that landed man on the moon. I'm no less intrigued that I have over 400,000 friends and followers, and a recent tweet wishing Shatta Wale happy birthday in pidgin would go viral. It is no exaggeration to state that those who control the cyberspace control the world.
The president has since left Ghana for Niger for a 3-day official visit and is expected back in the country on Wednesday.
The Central Regional Police Command has arrested 11 persons in possession of substances suspected to be cocaine. They were arrested in a swoop at Kotakraba and the University of Cape Coast on Sunday. The Regional Police Commander, COP David Nyeyi Benin, at a news conference said the police service will respond to the rising cases of crime in the region until they are completely flushed out. Richard Kojunyakun has more.
According to the Deputy Upper West Regional Commander,
the suspects were paraded at the regional police headquarters and substances found on them displayed. This is part of the Operation Hit Hard that was recently launched by the Central Regional Police Commander, COP David Ampabenyi. The items found on them included narcotics and other materials used to administer narcotic drugs. 8 pairs of scissors, 10 packs of tramadol drug that has been prohibited on the market. Central Regional Police Commander COP David Ampabenyi says the men and women of the police service in the region are combat ready to deal with deviants in the society to give relief to residents.
The following suspects were arrested in the ghetto at Pedro. Ebenezer Aban, 20 years. Joseph Yevuga, 25 years. Bashir Abdullah, 19 years. Alex Ajay, 17 years. And Anani Emmanuel, 27 years. A search conducted on them led to the recovery of small quantity of plant material suspected to be narcotic drug. Found on suspect Ebenezer Aban. Suspect David Basia, 23 years. Kwesi Mensah, 23 years. And Richard Mensah, 25 years. Were arrested at a ghetto at Kotokaba Zongo in 51 pieces of similar rough substance recovered from them. I must be quick to add that similar operations were being held at Kaswa, Sredro, Elmina simultaneously. In Kaswa, 4 armed robbers were arrested. And if you can recollect, last week, we arrested 18 other suspects who have been remanded into prison custody.
Meanwhile, the ghettos and other places used for nefarious activities by the suspect have been destroyed. The suspect would be arraigned before court on Tuesday. Richard Kwejo, Joy News, Cape Coast.
And speaking of arrest, the Upper West Police Command have in their custody 11 suspected illegal miners, including 4 Burkinabes. They were arrested during a swoop at the Doyo Kura in the Wa East District, following a complaint from the residents of unexplained deaths of their cattle and other livestock. The 11 suspects will be arraigned at court on Tuesday. JoyNews' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam has more.
According to the Deputy Upper West Regional Commander of the Ghana Police Service, DCOP Edward Odro-Kwarton, the police had information from the Wa East District about unexplained deaths of their cattle along the Danyokura River. On receipt of the complaint, the Upper West Regional Command tasked the regional crime officer to investigate and unearth the mysteries surrounding the deaths of the livestock in the area. The investigation revealed that there is an illegal mining activity going on in the area, which has led to the pollution of the river, the main source of the water in the Wa East District. Consequently, a task force was formed and led by DSP Ali to flush out the illegal miners from the area to save lives and property. DCOP Odro-Kwarton said a swoop was conducted on camps of suspected illegal miners in the area. 11 suspects were arrested, including 4 Burkinabes.
9 motorbikes, 1 chamfan machine, 1 generator, 2 water pump machines, 28 shovels, 2 pickers, 3 wheelbarrows, 2 more hammers, 2 water hoses, 4 solar panels, a piece of yellowish metal suspected to be gold and other mining implements were retrieved from them. Details of those arrested are as follows. 4 Burkinabe nationals, they are Sawadongo Yakubu, 22 years, Zuri Abdul Razak, 19 years, Gabriel Sawadongo, 18 years, and Abdul Wahab Fadina, 20 years. The Ghanaians are Saka Chalina, mechanic, 20 years, Sadat Abdullahi, mechanic, 20 years, Clement Bisina, a farmer, 26 years, Dauda Idrusu, mechanic, 18 years, Mohammed Mumuni, mechanic, 19 years, Debli Salia, a farmer, 51 years, and Pascal Sambama, student, 23 years.
The suspects are remanded in police custody and scheduled to appear in court on Tuesday. DCOP Odro-Kwarton used the opportunity to assure the public to go about their legitimate businesses without any fear or hindrance. Reporting for JoyNews, Rafiq Salam.
Let's stay in Wa because former caterers of the Ghana School Feeding Program in the Upper West region have given government a 2-week ultimatum to pay arrears owed them or they will hit the streets. They've been addressing a press conference in Wa, from where correspondent Rafiq Salam reports.
The former caterers of the Ghana School Feeding Program numbering 17, and some of whom dress in red cloth, could not tell the press the specific amount owed them by the government, except to say that the amount is staggering. According to them, government owes them monies they used to cook for pupils during the second and third term of last academic year. Hajia Munira Isa is the secretary of the Association of One Municipal Former Caterers of the Ghana School Feeding Program.
Government owes us for 2 terms, roughly, that is about 131 days. The government owes us as caterers of the former school feeding caterers.
So if you convert it into money, approximately how much are we looking at?
That one is difficult. It depends on the number of children one has. So if I have 200 and someone has 300, I cannot say around sum or figure as who owe us or how much they owe us. Because every school depends on the total students you have. That determines your money that you get.
She posited that a couple of weeks ago, government paid them for only 7 cooking days, leaving a debt of over 100 cooking days. Whilst thanking the government for the paying of the 7 cooking days, they are of the view that it is peanut and can pay for the debts owed.
We are pleading with them. If they pay us in base like that, there's a proverb in Wale that if someone owes you 2 cedis and starts to pay you 1 peso or half peso, how are you going to organize if he owes you or so Kantamali means that the way they are paying us, we can't organize ourselves and we cannot pay those who also owe. So we are giving the government 2 weeks ultimatum. Other than that, we hit the streets to demonstrate about our money.
The former caterers said, apart from being harassed by the people they are indebted to, they are now lying to survive.
Now, residents living around Santana Market, a suburb of Accra, said they are living in fear after an Accra-bound train derailed off its tracks and injured 3 people, including a student, Monday morning. They are scared a worse scenario could lead to loss of lives if the rail lines constructed over a drain is not rehabilitated immediately. Nancy Emefa Dradosi has more on the story.
So this railway you see here does not only serve as a means for people or the trains to pass from Tema to Accra, but also serves as a route for residents of this particular community. But if you can see here, this is made up of wooden structures that has been placed on this railway line, which residents describe as a death trap.
When it rains, this place flooding sometimes. So imagine if what happened there had happened here. Imagine what it would have cost, the amount of lives. And this is not a one-day something. It's been like this since ages. This it's not a constructed drain where you would say probably it has firm concrete under to hold it. They are only stones, rocks.
Instead of they have to construct the gutter, the bridge, they put iron under, then they start to do a boat. But the train too is very heavy. If you are standing here with the train from Tema came, you saw that the thing is turning like this, but they know that this is what happened here, but nobody cares.
These residents are calling on the appropriate authorities to come to their aid.
Well, the newly installed Gamanche Ni Taki Teko Tru II has dismissed suggestions that his kinship is politically motivated. Speaking shortly after his induction into the Ga Traditional Council, the new Gamanche said he was installed through the right process and by the right kingmakers, hence does not feel threatened by comments seeking to undermine his legitimacy. His induction was carried out 2 days after another claimant to the Ga stool, Ni Adamalache, was inducted into the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs. JoyNews' Matilda Vemega witnessed the induction ceremony and has come through with this report.
The Ga Chieftaincy institution has been embroiled in many disputes, with many cases ending up in the law court. The installation of Ni Takiteku Chu II comes after the Ga Traditional Council rejected the induction of Ni Adamalache into the House of Chiefs. Acting president of the council, Enotublu Manche, Ni Dodu Nsaki II, had explained in a statement following the attempt to induct Ni Adamalache into the National House of Chiefs that the process was illegal and therefore should be reversed. Ni Adamalache was installed by the Greater Accra Regional House of Chiefs as the Gamanche a few days ago. Shortly after his installation came Ni Takiteku Chu II, the supposed legitimate new Gamanche, who has been recognized by the Ga Traditional Council. Kingmakers of the Ga Paramount Stool, including the Jaseche, Dr. Ni Tetekwe, backed the installation of the new king, Ni Takiteku Chu II, stressing the successful induction ceremony should bring an end to the protracted chieftaincy dispute in the Ga state.
When people were saying that we didn't have a rightful chief, it's so painful. Well, we have a chief. All these problems in Accra have ended. We're going to ensure that one piece of land will not be sold to 100 people. We're going to ensure that there is sanity. What actually had bedeviled us had been nothing other than corruption.
The new Gamanche Ni Takiteku Chu II, in a brief statement, said he isn't perturbed by comment challenging his legitimacy. He has a 3-year vision to unite the Ga state by 2020.
This resolve shall not be disturbed. This resolve shall not be perturbed. This resolve shall not be threatened. I'm here to fulfill the mandate of my fathers. Nobody will decide who becomes Gamanche apart from the Ga Paramount Stool Jaseche, Dr. Nita Tekwe II, and his Ga Jase Council. I'm not joking. You see, Ga and Accra has serious problems. We need serious people to solve these problems. Why are you using the little things to divide us? Our reign is complete. No law in the land will determine who is Gamanche. We are not. We are not afraid. Politics will not be brought into this reign. I wasn't installed by politics. It is because people saw that the 2014 ruling which declared the Ga stool vacant must be enforced. And that was what was enforced.
Speaking on his plans to restore the Ga state to its former glory, the new government says his priority will be on education and support government's One District, One Factory agenda to provide jobs for the people within the Ga state. For Joy News, Matilda Humaga, Accra.
Now, more help continues to pour in for 10-year-old hole-in-heart patient Sunday Ayamga, whose plight was highlighted by Joy News. The child's parents, who are too poor to raise 35,000 Ghana cedis required for an open-heart surgery, have appealed for support. The latest to heed their call for help is a social media group based in the Upper East region. Correspondent Albert Story reports.
10-year-old Sunday Ayamga was diagnosed by the National Cardiothoracic Center of having a ventricular septal defect plus double outlet right ventricle. This means there is a hole in his heart, and that is preventing the heart from functioning the normal way. The cardio center said the total cost of surgery and other bills required for the boy's complete recovery is $8,000, the equivalent to about 35,000 Ghana cedis. Following a Joy News story of Sunday's plight in July this year, a person who wishes to remain anonymous donated an amount of 2,000 Ghana cedis towards his surgery. The latest to donate towards Sunday's surgery is an Upper East Region person born in the month of May. President of the Union of Maybons, Vincent Asigri, said the donation was part of the union's charity activities for the year, which also included a blood donation exercise at the Bolgatanga Hospital.
We are here this morning at the regional hospital to make a presentation, which we've just done to our sick brother and son. It happened that we spotted, or we saw a videotape that told us about the ill health of Sunday Ayamga on Joy News. And one of our members put it on our platform, and we were touched by the situation. So we asked ourselves, what could we do in our own small way? So it came to light that we needed to contribute whatever we could do to support him. So we put our little contributions together until we realized a cash amount of 1,000 Ghana cedis. So we had to invite Sunday Ayamga and then his father, who is visually impaired, to make the presentation.
Sunday's father, Nso Ayamga, has expressed gratitude to everyone who is showing concern for them. The donations so far, however, are just a small fraction of the 35,000 Ghana cedis needed for Sunday's heart surgery. Persons who wish to donate to help Sunday Ayamga can contact the Joy News office at Kokomlemle in Accra. For Joy News, Albert Sori, reporting from Bolgatanga.
You're watching JoyNews Prime. I'm Arba Kunti.